There are plenty of account unlocks through quests and other means that truly can take your PVMing ability to the next level, without actually having to get better yourself. A prayer that heals back health for the damage you do, a spell that reduces incoming damage by over 50%, or perks on your weapons that give you free damage without having to do anything extra, besides obviously obtaining them and adding them to your weapons. And just like with the PVM item unlock video, which you should check out after this one, this might sound like clickbait, but those things all exist within Runescape, but you just have to unlock them. And in this video, I will show you exactly how you do this. So make sure to leave a like to support the content and get it seen by as many people as possible. Subscribe if you're new, as we're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And enough yapping, my name's Chevalric, and let's put you on some game. Let's start you off with something that requires skilling. Actually, you need to have 3 skills leveled up to level 80, and that is unlocking the invention skill. You'll be needing 80 crafting, divination, and smithing to start training invention. This skill allows you to perk out your gear, meaning that you can add additional power and effects to existing weapons. Unfortunately, it is a very complicated skill to explain and something that requires its own video, which if you want I could try and make, but the best advice I can give you is simply look at the wiki, what you need for the perks you want, and go from there. Not to worry though, there are a lot of perks I'm going to be telling you about that work for your level bracket when you just unlocked invention. But you gotta understand something first. Every perk can have various ranks, ranging between 1 to 6 depending on the perk. Don't worry, you don't have to memorize anything, just know that whenever I refer to rank, it means the amount of actual improvement this gives. As an example, the Eruptive perk. For every rank, it increases the damage you do with an ability by 0.5%. So, if you have Eruptive 4 on a weapon, that means your ability will do a flat 2% more damage. 4 times 0.5. Easy. Simple enough, right? Let's run you through some basic perks that will help you increase your damage output straight away. I keep away from the more expensive perks like Biting 4 that can cost over 300 million GP to get a chance to get. Yeah, it's honestly insane and I wish something was done about it. Or the combination perk. But I will leave a link to the wiki with all the information you need once you're ready to move on from the cheaper basic perks that increase your damage output straight away that I'm about to show you. First of all, the Precise perk. For every rank you gain, 1.5 increase of your minimum damage per rank over your maximum damage. So pretty much your minimum damage gets increased and your maximum damage gets slightly decreased, but overall it's a flat DPS increase. And like I said, the Eruptive perk, and they're both obtained by filling your gizmo with precise components. These should always be applied on weapon gizmos as well, so keep that in mind. It doesn't work on armor. Whilst Biting 4 for your armor might be expensive to get, Biting 2 is quite cheap with direct components and it increases your critical hit chance by 2% per rank. Critical hits are those big hit splats you see, and they obviously do more damage. Another perk for your armor is the Crackling perk, which is a great option and can be obtained by using imbued components and damages your opponent periodically for a certain amount. If you ever watch any high level PVM, you sometimes see some electricity coming from a player. That's a Crackling perk and it just does a free flat amount of damage. Now there are many more perks and perk combinations to get into. There's even something called Ancient Invention that has the same perks but they're stronger. I know, it's very complicated, but just focus on the basics first. These above mentioned perks will increase your DPS output without you having to do anything for it, so get experimenting, and like I said, I'll leave a link to the wiki where you can find more information down below. Let's move on to those white commies you see between a boss and a player whenever you watch a RuneScape PVM video or stream. Have you ever wondered what that is? Well, it's a prayer called Soul Split, and it heals you back a percentage of your damage dealt. On screen right now, you can see what percentage you would heal with what type of damage, as there's a bit of a complicated formula to it, but all you need to know is that when you have this active, you heal back some of the damage dealt, and this can massively help you with sustain at any bossing encounter. But how do you unlock such a powerful prayer? Or, well, curse to be exact, as you need to have the Ancient Prayer book enabled to use Soul Split at level 92 prayer. Which might sound steep, but trust me, prayer is worth focusing your first earned millions on to train, and something like Infernal Ashes will only cost you about 30-ish million at current prices when using a gilded altar in your or anyone else's house to be able to obtain. You will also need to complete the Temple of Santistan quest that has a whole list of pre-quests, but truly, it is so worth going for it, as this prayer is used in nearly every mid to end game bossing encounter and pretty much makes it so that you could just outdamage your boss that you're facing and just heal and not really have to use food or just use minimal food. On the topic of Santistan, there's another quest that has the name in it, and it's called the City of Santistan quest, which unlocks new ancient spells to the ancient spellbook, which is initially unlocked through the classic Desert Treasure quest. And whilst this quest also has some steep requirements, as seen on screen, the spells you unlock with it are simply just too good to not have in your arsenal and will propel you from mid-game run to end-game Dumbledore. First up is the Smoke Cloud spell that you want to use regardless of which combat style you're using, as this spell increases your critical strike chance. Yet again, those big colored numbers you sometimes see that do more damage. Additionally, whenever you are using magic, this critical strike chance is further increased by 15%. Making it pivotal when using magic, and especially in combination with this next spell, the Inside Fear spell. Another great unlock from this quest, as this is not only your most powerful spell, it will also reduce the cooldown of the Tsunami ability by a lot, and allows you to cast it with just 40% adrenaline instead of 100. And that makes it so that Tsunami becomes a viable ability to use in a rotation, which is great, as Tsunami makes it so that whenever you deal a critical hit, you gain back some extra adrenaline. Combine this with Smoke Cloud and you can see where I am going. And finally, you unlock the Animate Dead spell, which isn't as relevant anymore as it used to be, but it's still pretty good, as it reduces your damage taken by 60% for 12 minutes, depending on how many pieces of magic tank armor you're wearing. So that means you are sacrificing some damage, but if you're learning a boss or doing something like Defiant Kiln or Zuck that have waves and takes longer, this can be the difference between life and death. However, there's a version of this spell that works slightly different called Darkness, and it's arguably better. It's unlocked through the Necromancy talent tree and requires 86 Necromancy and the completion of the Tomes of the Warlock quest to use. This incantation, or well, Necromancy spell, gives you a 20% chance to dodge incoming damage for 12 minutes. So when you do dodge, it's a flat 100% damage reduction, but obviously you only do that 20% of the hits. So you don't take any damage when you dodge, but you only dodge it 20% of the times. A very useful incantation to have active, as you don't need to wear tank armor for this, and just like Animate Dead, it lasts for 12 minutes, and it works with every single style. Unlike Animate Dead, which only works with magic. Alright, enough number crunching for now, let's focus on some basic unlocks. Levels. Yeah, that's right. The best damage increase you can have are combat levels, and a great way to obtain these is through Slayer. The reason why is that Slayer gives you a nice variety in combat encounters and also gives you a bit of a disposable income. Sure, it's not as good as it was back in the day, but all those alks and little drops do add up over time. So whilst you're trading up your combat skills, you're also unlocking better monsters and eventually getting a bit of cash to buy further upgrades or even that 92 prayer that I mentioned earlier. Another thing I just have to mention, but won't spend too much time on, are overloads. You probably heard of them, as they are the best potions in the game, which you need 96 herbal for, and is something you for sure want to put your money towards, as these are untradeable and you have to make them yourself. But until then, simply buy and use extreme potions. Next up is summoning. Yes, another skill you want to get up. Preferably to level 96, as that is where you will be able to summon all the good summons, like Golgarian Demons to increase critical hit chance, Ripper Demons for free damage, the Hellhound that tank damage for you, and of course the good old trusty Pack-Yak to hold items for you. Yet, I get that it's not as easy to just get these levels, because you need to actually collect the charms. But not to worry, at level 68 you do unlock the War Tortoise, which can store 18 items for you, and it's great to bring when you're trying to learn a boss and need that extra bit of food. And if you're looking for a familiar that does damage for you, simply use the highest titan you could summon, for example the Mithril Titan at level 66 summoning. I sadly do have to send you guys back questing, as the Infernal Puzzle Box unlock does require you to have completed the Succession questline, and some other tasks that you can see on screen. Whilst the wellness buffs are nice for when you're trading Slayer, giving you a damage reduction when fighting mobs and also damage increase against mobs within the wilderness, it also unlocks two very useful things: the dive ability and your adrenaline no longer draining when you're not in combat. Dive functions the same as the search ability, where you zoom towards a square a bit away from you. The difference is that you can pinpoint where your dive goes instead of how search works, going into the line your character is looking in, but also functioning very weirdly if you click somewhere. Doesn't matter. It functions weird, right? Like, we've all experienced it. But dive is very accurate, and this can be insanely good to precisely dodge mechanics at bosses and relies less on you hoping that you're searching in the right way. The lack of adrenaline drain is also nice, especially at places where there's some downtime between bosses or whenever you go to a boss in the first place. You can simply load up on adrenaline in War's Retreat, either through the dummies or the adrenaline crystal if you have it unlocked, and go into a bossing encounter with full adrenaline. This means you can start off with something like Sunshine or Death Swiftness, abilities that boost your damage, and start off the kill with some big boy numbers straight away. Before we get into the final set of unlocks that boost damage, increase the amount of adrenaline you gain, and can even get your food to heal more, we need to discuss some abilities you have to unlock. First of all, the Tosca's Wrath ability that can only be used on Slayer tasks. This ability can be obtained by slaying creatures on Mascap, which you can get to by creating a group in the grouping system, attuning it to the liberation of Mascap, readying up, and teleporting there. This ability does 100 times your Slayer level and damage once every minute, and caps out at 10k. That is pretty much a free 10k damage every minute when training Slayer with just the press of one button. Next up is the Devotion ability, unlocked by completing the One Piercing Note quest. This ability allows you to negate all damage when activated for 9.6 seconds when you have the right protection prayer or curse active. So let's say a monster attacks you with melee and you have your melee prayer up. When Devotion is activated, you won't take melee damage for 9.6 seconds. This ability is used quite a lot at mid to end game PVM encounters to deal with some of the harder hitting mechanics, and Jagex even designs mechanics around you using this ability, so it's very important to have. Finally, I have to mention the Limitless ability, unlocked by creating a Limitless Codex with 2000 Vital Sparks, costing roughly 250 million GP as of me making this video. Now, I know that's steep, and it has no priority at all, but I did want to mention it as it's quite an interesting ability to use. What it does is it allows you to use any ability costing you adrenaline, so your spender abilities like Wild Magic or Snapshot, at just 15% adrenaline of the usual 40 to 60%. So it's very good in situations where you did a big ability, like Sunshine, and you're left with little to no adrenaline, but you need to just squeeze out a little bit of damage. Cast Limitless and spender ability, and boom, you're doing that little bit of damage. Before we move on, I do have an important note about the Limitless ability. As of me making this video, they are tinkering with this ability in a combat beta. And with the current build that is out as of February 15th, 2026, this ability became quite useless. I will leave a pinned comment if this remains useless or if it has changed, but I'm assuming Jagex will adjust this as it's a very expensive ability to unlock. So check if there's a pinned comment. If there's no pinned comment, it works the same as stated in the video. Let's finish off with one final unlock, well, multiple unlocks. And just how we started it, we will need to tackle another skill, Archaeology. And I know what you might be thinking, how's that boring skill going to help me to be stronger during bossing? First of all, we don't tolerate Archaeology slander in this household, we love Archaeology. But in all seriousness, there are some relics that you can unlock through Archaeology that can instantly boost your prowess during any PVM encounter. The first one you can unlock is the Berserker's Fury at level 56 Archaeology by completing the Ceradomus 1 collection. This relic allows you to do more damage the lower your HP is, just like the Derek set from Barrows for the ones that are familiar with it. Another good one early on is the Blessing of Het, unlocked at level 74 and can be obtained by completing the Eye of Het 2 mini quest. This relic allows your food to heal 10% more, which can be pretty handy, especially if you don't have any of the more powerful relics unlocked yet. On the subject of sustain, the Death Ward relic at level 81, which can be unlocked by bringing Armadale a restored Dreamcoat artifact, is also a great unlock. This relic reduces the incoming damage by 5, 10 or 25% depending on how low your own hit points are, aka the reverse of the Berserker's Fury. You get tankier the lower your health is, allowing you to sustain that little bit longer to possibly get that boss kill. There are 2 more relics that I highly recommend and that should be in all your relic setups. First of all, Fury of the Small. Unlocked at level 97 and is something you will just have to click the link in the description for to understand on how to get. But this relic allows you to generate 1% extra adrenaline with every basic attack. This doesn't sound like a lot, but it honestly is the difference between doing more powerful abilities and not being able to do them in combat. I can go into a lot of depth about this, but this video is getting long as it is, so trust me, everyone uses this, unlock it. And just like this final relic, unlocked at a shocking 118 archaeology. Once again, I'll put the guide in the description down below on how to get it. But it's probably the most powerful one out of all of them, as you will retain 10% adrenaline when using an ultimate ability. The abilities that take 100% adrenaline. On its own, it's good, but it does stack with the Ring of Vigor, which you can learn more about in my useful PVM items video, linked at the end of this one. But having both of these allow you to have 20% adrenaline left over after casting an ultimate. This means with just 1 or 2 abilities, you can already start using your spender abilities and do big damage. This is definitely one of those, on paper it looks okay, but when you truly think about it, it's such an overpowered unlock type of unlocks. You know what I mean, right? Anyway, I understand it's very late in your progression, but it's something that is definitely worth chasing in the background. And that is all for the video. A lot of information, but I really hope that I was able to help you out with some useful unlocks for your account. And no matter where you are in progression, all of these will eventually be relevant to you. So don't worry if some seem far away, just slowly work towards them. Leave a like to help me out to get this video seen by as many people as possible. Subscribe if you're new, and my name is Chevalric, and I'll see you guys in my next video.